I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Thanks for coming. We're going to start tonight with the cable ascertainment hearing with Charter Communications. Is the representative from Charter here? Lovely. So I'm going to start reading, and maybe he will show up while I'm reading. Good evening. My name, is Elizabeth Moulton, Chairman of the Town of Southampton's Board of Selectmen. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 166A, Section 1, the Board of Selectmen is the cable television licensing authority in the town, and the board is at this time acting in its capacity as cable licensing authority or issuing authority. This is a public hearing on Charter Communications as part of the town's cable television license renewal proceedings. Charter's cable television license in Southampton is due to expire on November 16, 2016. The federal law which governs cable television requires the town to engage in license renewal proceedings, including the holding of this public ascertainment hearing. Ultimately, these proceedings will result in either a renewal of Charter's license or a denial of such renewal. Under federal and state law, the initial decision as to whether to renew or deny Charter's license resides in the franchising or issuing authority, which is the Board of Selectmen. At this hearing, we will receive comments and testimony from the general public about what cable-related needs and interests are important to the public. Second, we will also accept information and comments concerning how well Charter has performed under its existing license. Any public comments and testimony will supplement the ascertainment record being developed by the town. We ask, if possible, for you to address your testimony to these issues of Charter's past and current performance and community needs and interests. Members of the Board of Selectmen may also have questions or comments. We ask that you keep your comments brief and to the point and conclude them in no longer than 5 minutes. Before receiving testimony from the public, Charter will have an opportunity to discuss its cable operations in Southampton, including past performance and the license renewal. We also want to hear generally about Charter's commitment to community programming in public, educational and governmental access, and to maintaining an adequate institutional network, including video return lines, which are important parts of the existing license. We want Charter, as a possible provider in Southampton, to be aware of and attentive to the importance of Southampton Community Television and its roles at the forefront of meeting any public, town, and school cable needs. Any questions to Charter should be directed through me, and I will rule whether they are in order. Before testifying, please state your name and address. Make sure you come to the microphone in the center of the room. Should you wish to supplement your oral testimony or to provide any written comments on matters or concerns or comments concerning the renewal process, you can forward them to Heather, the town administrator at the town hall. And until further notice, we will keep the record of this hearing open to receive such comments and reserve the right to schedule additional ascertainment hearings if needed. We note for the record the process of ascertainment of community cable needs and interests will remain open until further notice. Good evening. At this point, we're going to start with testimony from the public in regards to Charter Cable, and I will start with the police chief. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. So short and to the point, and that's what you'll get. So I just wanted to speak in regards to what the Easthampton media has done with the police department and for the police department. They did a piece on promoting the public safety complex, showing the conditions of the current police department and the need for a new facility. During that piece, Sergeant Illingsworth, now Lieutenant Illingsworth, was interviewed also during that and spoke about our needs. So we were able to get everybody out there to see what the conditions are of where we are. A piece was also done at the Edwards Library program called Crime Lab, and it was conducted with the youth in town, and it was about eyewitness accounts and evidence, and Sergeant Illingsworth had done that program. There was also a piece at the Senior Center discussing winter storm preparedness and safety measures during and after the storm, where we were able to speak with the crowd there and be able to get out to the public watching of what the important needs are prior to a storm, during a storm, and after the storm, and how to stay safe. So we're looking forward to continue working with Easthampton Media and in the future to bring more educational videos for all age groups. We are actually talking right now with them about doing some other videos, things for youth and for people of all ages. And I just believe that they're an asset to our community and an asset to the police department by giving us the opportunity to be able to come into people's homes through television and educate them and share with them. So I think it's important to continue.
Very good. Thank you.
Can I ask a question here?
Yep.
If there was more funding available for Easthampton Public Media, is there things that they could do more for you that they can't now because of limited funding?
Like I said, we're kind of talking right now, so we only 3 times we've used them, and it's been a great experience. So I'm looking to branch out to do more things with them.
So you're just starting to get
just starting to
okay.
really talk about it.
Fair enough, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Mrs. Ahart, you're next on my list if you wish to speak.
I'm Virginia Ahart, and I chair the Community Preservation Committee. And what is happening, I'm finding out, is many of the townspeople who have not been able, for one reason or another, to know what's going on in town. I know they're watching the select board meetings, and they speak about it. I think it would be even more helpful if some of the other committees could also be included in this. What has been happening in the past with this board, I think has been helpful. But I think some of the other meetings would be helpful too for the people to see. Certain other committees such as finance would be one, planning board. My first reaction is I don't really think that I want to be televised with community preservation, but it is a very vital and active committee here in this town, and so if people knew even what we were talking about, it would help before. So I would like to see more committees, commissions, boards be able, and I certainly appreciate the past getting the select board out.
Thank you. We have Kim Florick, Director of IT for the Hampshire Regional School District. Long time no see.
Kim Florick, Director of IT for the Norris School in the Hampshire Regional School District, and I am a resident of Florence, Massachusetts. From my understanding, there may be an opportunity to put some broadcasting equipment at the school, so I'm here today to sort of talk about what that would mean to the town of Southampton as well as to the Norris School. So the residents of Southampton and the Norris School community would greatly benefit from having broadcasting equipment located at the school, specifically due to the lack of local news coverage from area television stations and the fact that the town does not have its own newspaper. Residents lack adequate coverage of educational events, instructional initiatives, and school-sponsored activities. Broadcast equipment, if that was possible at the school, would provide us with an opportunity to inform the citizens about what's happening at the Norris School. Among those opportunities would be the ability to broadcast school committee meetings, concert, band events, sporting activities, guest speakers, and other community outreach initiatives. We consider the Norris School a hub not only for educational happenings, but also a hub for the community it serves. As many of you know, SYAA uses the school for many sporting events, and the town holds public meetings there as well. We look forward to the possibility of being able to broadcast information from the school to the town of Southampton and what it could mean for the citizens of the town.
So currently, just so we're clear, there's not any equipment at the North School that has any capability of doing this? There's no
For cable
broadcast?
access, there is not.
There's nothing.
And again, even if, I'm not sure where this would be, I mean, I'm advocating that it would be wonderful to be able to broadcast from the school, but even being able to provide community programming for community access TV of those events would, I think, again, reach the same outcome in informing the community what was going on at the school.
Other questions?
Just so you know, there are no connections to the school for any type of broadcast. Everything has to be recorded, brought back to the studio, and then retransmitted out. School committee is 50-60% of the town budget, and they're never seen, to be blunt.
Right.
We have a lot of sporting events down there. We have a lot of activities at that school, and it's just basically on an island at this point.
Yeah, I think it would be, I mean, in terms of rich programming of interest to the town, I think there's a lot going on there, you know, be it school-related or the other types of functions that take place at the school.
I think between what Kim's saying and what Virginia was saying, we don't get many people here on a regular basis because they don't have the time. It's tough to come down and spend an hour and a half. But people, if they were able to see all this at home, I think would tune in and email or, you know, text or whatever, and maybe get them more interested because they know next time we're having something going on, so they'll come in. So I think it can only be a positive.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Floyd?
Robert Floyd, 15 East Street. I'm on the board of directors of Easthampton Media, but I'm not here to speak for Easthampton Media. James Jarvis, the chairman of the board, I believe is on his way, and I will allow him when he arrives to address the board accordingly. Our president left town today, so she wouldn't be here also, Kathy Lynch. I just like to share some thoughts I have wearing different hats in the town. Being superintendent of the Southampton Cemetery, I've been approached by some scouts who want to film, to video the historic grave sites and to tell a story. And we've tossed that idea around to really show the heritage of our over 200-year-old cemetery. As a photographer and videographer myself, Easthampton Media will train any citizen in town with an interest with the equipment at their facility and will help in broadcasting any message. So any private town entity or women's club, historical society, and the like can have their story told and have that shared. It is a priority for another camera to be placed in the town upstairs in the second floor meeting room, and also at the school, so everything can be recorded that's public in town, and that's a chief priority. Teaching computer classes weekly, I meet a lot of seniors who, for some reason or another, are unavailable to travel to town meetings, to select board meetings, and they tune in because they tell me they can't hear the sound well, and that's being fixed, I understand, almost as we speak. And as town moderator, it's been a thrill to approach our annual town meeting, our third one that will be recorded, and as Mr. Kinnicky said earlier, there are no facilities to put these meetings live, but that's the plan. So a lot has been going on in the meetings, and I do receive a lot of feedback, good positive feedback about townspeople having a story, having something that they're involved in, and this is the 21st century, so certainly putting it on video appears the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a question, Charlie?
Well, you know, a lot of people don't realize the fact that it's not directed to you directly, but people don't realize how this town is growing. We have over 6,000 residents. We're putting out 10 to 20 building permits a year. We have been for several years. Without local newspapers and other avenues, the only source of information to the residents is coming out of the cable TV network.
And it works in other locales brilliantly, and it creates community. I remember when it started in Manhattan, it was a big thing, and it was fun. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about fun, because
Oh, it has to be
I'm
fun.
on the
It's gotta
work
be
end of
fun.
it. But the reality is, this town is growing because the neighboring communities have built out, and we're seeing that. And we're seeing more requests by the residents looking for more services.
Yes.
And the sad part is you're working right now on handy-down cameras from a different era.
That's true.
So everything you're seeing here when you complain about things like video and stuff is because we have handy-down equipment here. So we need to start upgrading, we need to start expanding our service with this.
Great.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
We have Michael Rosenberg, the chairman of the Finance Committee.
Good evening. Michael Rosenberg, 144 East Street, Chairman of the Finance Committee. I am here as a member of the Finance Committee and as a resident of Southampton. Southampton is a growing town, as Charlie said. Building permits are being taken out for new houses, new developments. You know, they're going up. There's land and it's being developed. More houses, more families. With more residents come more demand for public access to municipal, educational, community, sports, safety, school-related programming. As a member of the Finance Committee, we hear constantly about making our and other meetings available to the public and the homebound to increase the transparency, the participation, the community involvement, to get everyone involved with the processes and the discussions we have. You know, as a member of the Finance Committee, we have so many meetings that are integral to what the Select Board does. And sometimes I feel the residents aren't afforded the same opportunity to know some of the background. So they see what happens here and they may have questions, well, why did that happen? And it's unfortunate that we can't offer the same ability to all meetings, to show them to the public, to allow everyone to see the full picture, the full development of the story, whether it's budget or policy or some transaction happening in town. You know, I think the most important thing with the public access is to afford all residents the rights the Cable Communications Act has given them, right? You have a right with the franchise fee to give the residents the opportunity to see what is going on in town. You have that bargaining chip. 1% does not allow us to do so. It does not allow us to give the local community the news and information they deserve, and does not allow for the future growth of our town, which Charter will benefit from as well, right? More houses, more residents, more TVs, more cable. We don't want to end up like some of these towns or states where public access has literally gone away. Now, luckily, we live in Massachusetts, which is a little more agreeable to the public access and through legislation pushes for it, but we don't want to let some of that slip away and not fight for the ability and the rights we have due to the acts that have been passed by the federal government. I, as a Southampton resident and member of the Finance Committee, support the structure, the escalated structure we have for fees. I think it's imperative to grow the services, to grow the involvement in town, to afford individuals who can't make the meeting, whether it's personal commitments, whether it's physical inabilities to make the meeting. I think it's important that they get to see what happens in the school, what's going on in town, public safety information. That's very important for the town. Like I said, I support the structure, and I encourage all residents to do the same. Thank you.
Thanks.
Questions for Mike? Thank you. Mr. Eline, are you here on behalf of the chief tonight?
Yes, I'm representing Chief Workman. Hi, I'm Patrick Eline, Captain, Southampton Fire. On behalf of the fire department, Chief Workman has instructed me to give full support as well to this endeavor. Obviously, we can see a potential use for it as well for public safety from the fire department side of things as well as the EMS side of things. So we certainly could see potential for use and development as well. So on behalf of the fire department, we're in support.
Very good. Thank you. Heather, do you want me to come back? You're on my list.
Oh, I'm going to pass.
Okay, and would you like me to read the letter from Mr. Lawrence? Is that, or no?
If if you want to get the rest of the folks here
Fair
from
enough.
the audience, if anyone else wants.
If there are others who would like to speak in support of charter, please feel free to come to the microphone. Let us know who you are, and
I'm Barbara Golden, Director of the Edwards Public Library here in Southampton. I have a letter from the children's librarian who's on vacation. Should I just give that to you, or?
sure, would you like to read it?
I can read it. Her name's Johanna Douglas. She's our youth librarian. I am writing in support of funding for Easthampton Media. Easthampton Media has been a vital co-partner in sharing our work with the community. At the Edwards Public Library, we host theatrical programs, author events, lectures, and parties. When members of the community cannot attend an event in person, the presence of Easthampton Media ensures that the public can still learn and enjoy our work. Easthampton Media staff are always cordial and professional. Whether they are recording a town meeting, a lecture, or a Star Wars themed party for children, they put effort into creating a watchable event. Their work strengthens our community as well as our democracy. Another thing Paul has been doing is he'll send us a link to the author speaking or to the Star Wars party anytime that he films something, and so that's kind of fun too, because we have that link and we could post it on our website and use it for different things. What I wanted to say was that I hear from quite a few patrons that they do watch the Board of Selectmen meeting. You know, a lot of the elderly people can't drive at night, for instance, in the dark. So you'd be surprised, I think, how many people actually watch it. Because I also always hear when the sound isn't good. And, you know, sometimes maybe better equipment could help, you know, because they have trouble hearing individual people. But I think the town is very involved, even if they're not showing up. And like you said, John, there'll maybe be more participation with more of the filming. So I definitely think we need much better equipment, as Charlie said. This is hand-me-down equipment, and with better equipment, all the reception will be better at home. Let's see, I also agree with Virginia that more committee meetings would be good, school committee meetings and so on, to make available to the Public Finance Committee meetings. As far as the library goes, Paul's been very good about filming, for instance, author events and some of the children's activities, but we have a lot of our events on Tuesday night because we're only open Tuesday and Thursday night. We're open the rest of the week, but those are the only nights. And so Thursday night, we have friends meetings and trustees meetings. So Tuesday nights where a lot of our events fall, and I'm sure Paul will, you know, second this, that there's many times he can't come to film an event. So I think it would be very exciting if there could be more training of other people in the community, maybe even somebody at the library, a staff member. More equipment would enable more filming of the activities at the library and the schools and everywhere else. And I think I've seen kids who learn how to use cable access equipment go on to do visual studies in college even. I've seen amazing things because I used to work at the Easthampton Library, you know, right where the Easthampton Media is, and I would see a lot of people being trained. They actually trained us too as the staff. So I think there's a lot of potential in Southampton if there can be that training. And I do think if the town hall could have updated equipment, as I said before, that would help, and the broadcasting from different points in town. So I think that's some of my main points. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's anyone who'd like to speak, just feel free to come on up. In support of, not in support of. If you have questions or concerns for the charter representative, we'd be happy to hear from those folks as well.
Yeah, Patrick Monon, 125 Pleasant Street. First of all, a question. Is there a discount rate for the elderly within the rate? There is already one.
10% off.
Perfect. That's what I want to know.
At what age do you
I don't think you're there yet.
At what age do you qualify?
Tom,
What age do you qualify?
put that on the microphone
65?
so they can hear, because they can't hear if they're sitting in the audience.
So the question was, is there a
discount rate
discount?
for the elderly?
Yes, so,
And the answer?
Tom,
They
if you wouldn't
said-
mind, thank you, go into the microphone.
The answer is yes. By the way, my name is Tom Cohan. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for Charter.
And just so you know.
I thought it was early. I thought this was a 6:30 meeting.
Oh,
but
no
my
problem.
apologies for being a few
No
minutes late.
problem.
And not that-
Yes, we have a senior discount for eligible seniors 65 years of age or older.
Does eligible mean something?
There is a needs test to it. So,
Financial?
eligible for Medicaid, SSI, if the town has a discount property tax program for seniors, veterans benefits, et cetera.
Okay.
It's a standard clause. It's not.
That was it, Mr. Moynihan?
You asked for Sandy?
Are there other questions for Mr. Cohan or concerns? Yes, sir, come on up. You're standing.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Robert Schwob, and I have been connected with Easthampton Media for many, many years. I was their treasurer for too many years to remember. And when I moved to Southampton, I found out that we still get the same channel that we got in at Easthampton Media. And due to my age and my wife's age, we watch a lot more television than we used to. The quality is not here. I don't know whether it's coming from the cameras here in the Southampton, but I noticed that the quality is not the same. And I do go along with the theory of photographing many more meetings, not just the selectmen's meetings, but a whole variety of meetings. They all mean something to somebody, and they would enjoy seeing them. And, I want to remind everybody that if there's anybody in the audience or you know of anybody that wants to do a project of their own, get to Easthampton Media, get the equipment, get the knowledge, and get out there and do it, because it will show back in town here. The town of Southampton should come into the 21st century by increasing its budget. That's the only way we're going to get there, is the budget. And that's what we're here for tonight. And I wish everybody success in fulfilling that job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Other questions, concerns? Concerns for Mr. Cohan?
Good evening, my name is Greg Wright, 326 Fulmer Road. We're new to the area. I've worked in Southampton for 28 years. I own a small business up on Valley Road. We enjoy our internet there, but when I moved out to Fulmer Road, there's a group of us that do not have access to any television. So all of your needs would be wonderful if we could even have the option to view that, which we do not. I knew that when I bought the property. I'm not here like I was under surprise. We do have a different customer, your competitor Verizon out there, but it is literally as fast as dial-up. My daughter can't do homework. If she has to download anything, forget it. Most times we backtrack to my office on Valley Road so she can fulfill her obligations for schoolwork. I do know that it is on the street, but it ended at Mr. Petoniak's house. There's a petition I know that went around. It has been turned in. No one could make it, so I said, well, I get out of work at 5:30, I'll come in. Cost, I'm sure, is the main factor, because you're bringing it down the street. There are currently almost 20 parcels of land that are available for residents right in front of us. Question would be, if there are laws and regulations for access to cable, we should be represented. I mean, I'm not expecting Charter to bring it to my home, but I think I should have access from the road. That's my job, to get it from the road to my house. I don't think any of us would have a problem with that, but I know myself, I had to rent a boom truck to put DirecTV on top of my house. My neighbor's using Hughes Optical. That's horrible. Much better. We'd rather have Charter. And a few others have nothing. Some people are doing their online with their cell phones. Any way we can get at it. I understand money might be the driving cost, but I really hope that you take into consideration a small group of people that are within 0.4 miles of where it is. 0.4 miles is not that far to go. I'm only reading what I was given, and I don't know if this is an accurate assessment, but we were told in 2008, not myself, but the residents there, that it was going to be about $20,000 to get the line to Mr. Petoniak's house. Based on that, it was a 2-mile run to get it there. And we're only talking about 0.4 more miles to go. You brought it for 2 miles for 2 houses. There's 5 houses waiting for it, 0.4 miles. So I know money's a big concern. I'm from Chicopee. I've enjoyed Charter for many, many years. I know it's a great company to do business with. We have no issues with them. We would just, in a nutshell, from where I'm coming from, it would be nice to have the availability to view this, to have my daughter do her homework. I'm not here to watch Netflix, but I do want access to the internet. It sure would be nice to go a little faster than dial-up. So I think you do have the petition that went around?
I do, yep.
Okay,
We
great.
all have a
Thanks for your
copy.
time.
Thank you.
Just a question, that
Sure.
0.4 miles, does that get you to the first of 5 houses or to the last
The
of?
last one. I'm the last one on the run.
So you'd be 0.5 and people before that would be less?
Correct, correct. I know myself and my neighbor both have the lines installed already from the pole to our houses. It's just a matter of running that, that wire down the street. I know there's more cost than that. I'm a contractor myself, so I know it's not as easy as, running some CAD 6 down the street. I'm well aware of that, but if at all possible, it surely would be beneficial. I know for the town itself, you're talking about building permits. We have people walking the land a lot across the street. If they ask any questions, the first thing that comes to mind is, we notice there's no mailboxes. I don't mind that myself, but I know most of us residents go right to the fact that if you're looking for internet, it's just not here. We were actually told when we bought the home that if we did not retain the one DSL line that we had, we would not have internet whatsoever. We had to make a deal with the last previous owner. We had to go, who works for Mass Mutual. We had to contact them. It was really pulling teeth just to keep the dial-up fax tone that we have coming into our house. It really was quite a struggle. I'm grateful to have it, but it maybe works 20 days a month. And you can attest to that from everyone up there. It seems like what happens is when you call and say, hey, we don't have it, they just unplug someone else and give it to you for a couple days, and then they call. It's a revolving door of wants and needs. If you notice, they're on Fulmer Road constantly. Verizon, could you just put a house up out there? They just sit on that street and plug and play until, I'm not saying that's the problem, but I'm not trying to be a smart aleck up here, I'm really not. But it would be great to just have access to the web. There's currently 4 children under the age of 17 that this is affecting as well. That they're not going to have access if we don't do something. So, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Cohan, would you like to address that issue? Do you have any information to address that issue?
I can start, certainly.
Okay.
We have a cable television franchise with the town of Southampton. It deals with just video only. There's nothing related to broadband or phone service or anything like that. Cable television is an entertainment service. We have no obligation to build to every home. We usually have a density formula in all of our license agreements. I think in here it's 30 homes per mile. I don't have all the details in front of me, but I'd be happy to talk to you afterwards. I've asked our construction coordinator to survey that. I do know that it's 0.66 miles, I think he said, and there's 5 homes. As part of this formula, when it goes beyond a standard installation, and it's fewer homes than 30 homes per mile, we offer the residents an opportunity to share in that construction. So that, for example, and this is a hypothetical, if the total customer's share would be $5,000 and there are 5 homes, if all 5 people want to participate, it's $1,000 each. If only 2 want to participate, it's considerably more. But those ones who didn't want to wouldn't have the opportunity to join later without paying their share and having the first 2 reimbursed if they paid for it.
Using your formula, how did you go 2 miles to 2 houses?
We certainly didn't build 2 miles. 2 miles is about $70,000.
Okay. I mean, from the mailboxes where Fulmer begins to dirt to Mr. Petoniak's house, there's only 2 houses. There's an old farmhouse that sits on the side, and there's Mr. Petoniak's. That's approximately 2 miles to Mr. Petoniak's house. I don't know how it got there, or what formula you would have used to come to the...
Has it been there for years? I don't...
2008 is what I'm being told.
So 8 years. So it's a conversation that we can open up, and if, guys can get in touch after this, that probably would be helpful. I would just ask that you come, so otherwise people at home can't hear you. So if you could just stand, thank you.
Okay.
So if I'm getting this correct, even if the line was available to us at the street, it would only be the television, there would be no broadband or internet?
Oh, no, we bring
broadband.
everything.
So everything is
Yeah.
available if we...
But in
can-
terms of our obligation to build, it's
Sure,
based on a
sure.
cable television license.
Okay.
That's why I say it's an entertainment service, unlike the phone company from 100 years ago.
Okay.
They were required to build to every house because they had a service that everybody
Sure,
needed,
sure.
everybody wanted. Typically, with cable television, 50 to 60% of the people take it,
Right,
and the rest don't. They go
Right.
with satellite or something else.
okay. So
We actually have some of our highest penetration in the state in Southampton.
All right.
You want
Very
that
good.
section of the
So-
contract?
I'm pretty sure Aaron has it and
Yeah.
5 times over.
I think I may have
Okay.
this, because I think Heather sent me a petition.
Yes.
This is
But
the
with-
one we're working
With the
on, so-
addresses and the names, I can send a letter to each of those people saying, here's the construction cost, here's the formula we used, and
Would probably be a good place to start.
here's what that is.
Could you
Okay.
copy Heather with
Yeah.
that?
Very
That'd be great. So, Mr. Wright, I guess what we're saying is we got it on our radar, so thanks for coming.
Are there other comments, questions, concerns? Mr. Fish? It's not often you see the front of
Kind
you.
of strange being on this side of the camera. I am Paul Fish. I am the Southampton coordinator for Easthampton Media. I'm currently a half-time employee, which means that I work 20 hours a week. Some of this is going to be piggybacking what other people have said, but I'll make my comments very brief. I do all of the programming for Southampton Channel 191. I record and broadcast the select board meetings, as you can see, and I've worked with the department heads, the police and fire departments, the folks from the Edwards Public Library, and town citizens to create local programming. With more funding for Easthampton Media, some of the things I'd be able to do, record and broadcast more government meetings, which would help with transparency and getting important information out to the citizens of Southampton. Be able to broadcast live events outside of the select board room, such as the town meeting, which is held at the school. Be able to extend our outreach to the schools and to record and broadcast performances such as concerts, plays, musicals, and any other events they may have, like something like a science fair. Be able to do sporting events, do more concerts at Conan Park. I did one last year, but would like to be able to do more of them. And the ability to do it live would actually be really nice. And if there's any events such as like a town parade, I heard that there were town parades that I would love to actually be able to help you with. I have a list here that is potential projects from Easthampton Media to air on Southampton Channel 191. More episodes of a series that I've done called Down on the Farm, which highlights farmers and their farms along Southampton. I'm actually working on the second episode right now. And more Edwards Library author talks. I've done 4 of those so far, and those are always a lot of fun. And the authors are really happy to get their information out to the people who can't actually attend when they're at the library. And we're looking to do another public safety video with the police department, some public service announcements for the highway department. I've reached out to people about doing a History of Southampton series, possibly doing a water commission video, another fire department video about whatever the station currently needs, a weekly broadcast of the congregational church services, and an infomercial for prospective home buyers, and, if Heather's still interested, a town administrator program. So those are just a list of some things that we are looking to do. But again, I'm a part-time employee. I'm a half-time employee at 20 hours a week. So obviously, these projects do take up quite a bit of time, and I'm more than happy to do it. But just time does become a bit of an issue. With more funding and better equipment, Easthampton Media would be able to produce more of what we already do and higher quality for all of the video that we do. And I didn't know if this would be appropriate now, but I did come up with a list of all the programming that Easthampton Media has done for Southampton over the last 2 years. I didn't know if I should give it to this gentleman here or present it to someone.
Do we have a copy yet, or no?
We do not. I just printed this up before I left the station.
So probably, if you can give it to Heather, and then Heather can disperse to Charter and us. We can
Okay, all right. I will make sure that Heather gets this then.
Perfect.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Cohan, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, if I could, I'd like to describe how PEG access funding works. It is our customers who pay it. And in the last, we just are finishing up a 5-year license with the town. We paid the town a $25,000 grant at the beginning of this term, and about $20,000 a year. I think, Heather, you should be getting a payment tomorrow or the next day. It's going out in the mail for about $21,000. That's what 1% is equal to today. And because of that the town had not spent much time or energy on public access in the previous license, there was, I believe it was a $24,000 grant upon request. They didn't request that until the very end of that. So in the last 5 years, the town has received about $150,000 to run PEG access. And it sounds like Southampton is paying Easthampton to run their access, so Easthampton Media. I think when I was out here at the last renewal, you had probably just hired somebody from Easthampton to be the camera operator. I don't think it was Paul, but one of his predecessors. So that, there are certainly towns, Easthampton is a good example, the city, that gets more money for PEG access. But the key thing is that the residents, our customers, see a value in what they get that, because it's going to be on their bill, it's a line item on their bill. The capital grant, for example, if in that last 5-year term, that capital grant of $25,000 was amortized over all 5 years. So it didn't amount to that much on any customer's bill. It appears as a line item under franchise-related cost. That is actually, I hate to get too complicated here, but that figure is actually built into the rate base. The basic service in Southampton is regulated by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the Mass Department of Telecommunications and Cable. So you have a pretty low basic service rate. That franchise-related cost, the capital grant, is part of that. There's another line on the customer bill which says franchise fee. In most states, that's the percentage that we pay the town to the town. In Massachusetts, that's generally the PEG access fee. So in Southampton, people would get a fee of 1% on their bill. So the basic-only customer would be paying 1% of, I don't know, $17 or $18. The customer who pays $200 a month for video service would be paying 1% of that. We have some towns that have a flat rate. I prefer the percentage of gross revenue because it seems to be more fair to the basic-only customer.
So right now, the average customer, $18, 1%, you're only talking pennies.
Yeah.
And even a $200 customer is $2, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that when you figure out what you want or what you think you need to support PEG access, each percentage of gross is about, today, $21,000. So if you wanted 2%, you'd be receiving $42,000. If you wanted 3%, you'd be receiving $63,000. And then, your constituents would be seeing that much of an increase on their bill on this particular line item.
But they'd also be seeing that increase in the service, too.
Sure. And there was two things that different people brought up that concerned me. One was that the audio quality was a problem, or the signal quality in Southampton wasn't as good as it was in Easthampton.
Well, I think one of them was the audio quality from us. We've got to really, I think, bring these in our face, so it's a...
Because we brought, I think 5 years ago, we brought a fiber connection to this room, this building. So you've got the cleanest signal possible coming back to us. And in this day and age with digital television and digital equipment, it's really easy to get a nice, clear picture. It is very much more difficult and a real challenge for most public, educational, government access operations to get good audio. Yet that is probably the critical factor. If somebody's home watching the selectmen's meeting, they're only going to stick with it if they can hear what you're saying. Right. The picture might be crystal clear, but yeah. And if the picture isn't of high quality, then I don't think I've heard that from anybody. So we probably need to do a service visit to see what the issue might be. But on fiber optics, you should be getting a very clear picture. And if your audio is coming to us good, our customers should be receiving it.
I guess that's my question. The fiber optics are between point A and point B, but if our equipment at the head end here is not good equipment, wouldn't it degrade what's seen at the other end?
Yeah, whatever you put in is what comes out.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, those are not old cameras, and that's usually the kind of camera that most town governments have. Maybe they need upgrading, maybe they don't, I don't know.
Just to know, Southampton about 1.5 years ago reconfigured this room, put these microphones in because of the demands of the residents. There's been a shift in this town about wanting to see more and hear more.
Yep.
So what we're wrestling with now is a contract over the next given years. So we're trying to anticipate that so that we have something that's saleable, viewable, and that's why there's been such a change in this room and everything. And we're hoping to expand on that. We're putting cameras and such up in the second floor meeting rooms and so on and so forth. The sound itself, one of the reasons we put separate mics for every individual is because sound issues. One of the reasons we put a podium there was because too many people were speaking in the audience, never being heard.
Yeah. So we'll price out the building fiber to some of these different locations where you want to originate programming from. I've been waiting because you're connected to the Easthampton ECAP facility.
Yeah.
They've been talking about moving for a year now, but they haven't been able to tell me where they're moving to. That may depend on, I mean, that may be, certainly is an important variable, but we'll probably build the fiber, if you, this is the first floor?
Right.
Okay, so, okay.
There's another section of the building.
All right, okay.
Trust me, it's there.
So that would just be an easy run from fiber from there down to here or wherever your signal goes out from.
What I've been seeing with your engineers is taking the transmittal from here and not going through Whitebrook Middle School anymore, but going to the new Easthampton station.
It will go directly to wherever their new location. It was supposed to be in Eastworks. It may still be in another portion of Eastworks or.
But that's where they're heading.
Yeah. The other thought I had is I forget which gentleman brought it up, but he emphasized the need for volunteers. That is critical because you know, a half-time person, even if he becomes a full-time person, can't be in many places at once. The real gauge of the success of a public access operation is that there are a lot of people making their own programming. So all of the people who spoke tonight from various agencies or committees, it may be incumbent upon them to get behind the camera. Or to start producing that programming. It's not always, what can somebody do for me? The whole point of public access is to bring volunteers, get them involved in producing programming that they're proud of and they think that their fellow residents might like to see.
And that's one of the reasons of encompassing the schools and the library, because there's a lot of interest and volunteers in those groups.
Sometimes there is, and sometimes there isn't.
I'm being optimistic. You just leave me in my little...
No, I have a history of dealing with, Charter operates in 53 cities and towns in Massachusetts. The level of access varies a lot. Some is quite good. Some towns are small enough that they say, we're not even interested. We know we don't have any volunteers. We have school systems. There's sometimes a media program at a high school. They start producing programming. There are budget cuts. They lay off the media teacher, and suddenly our channel is dark. And so those are the things you have to be concerned about. If you're going to be at the high school, you better get a lot of kids interested in producing programming.
Any other questions? So at this point, if there are no other, yes, one more. Yes, sir.
Hi.
Come on up. Oh, two more, sorry. Whoever's first. Sorry, Mrs. Walunas.
Tammy Walunas, 298 College Highway. I greatly support this program. I really want to play off of what Tom just said with the volunteers. Dr. Collins, before he left North School, one of his big things that he said was more parents need to get involved in the town. And if they can't make a meeting, if they have that opportunity to see what's going on in town and where they could help out, I think that's going to be a great benefit right there. The biggest question I have right now is, are you still going to show the taped coverage of meetings on the website for people that don't have cable at their home? So you'd show all the meetings or just Board of Selectmen's meetings?
They upload whatever we tape, any programs we tape, as far as I know. And Paul, you're probably listening over there. To the best of my knowledge, Paul, do we upload all of our meetings onto the website? Anything you tape, do you upload to the website?
Yes, all the select board meetings do.
But what about everything else? Do we have the capability of doing that?
If we were to tape the meetings, then yes, I would be able to put them up.
And if we were to tape things like concerts at Conant Park, we could put those on the internet as well?
Yes.
So yes, any programs we tape can go right to the website. If they're not currently, let us know and we'll talk to Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you for hearing me. I'm James Zarvis. I'm the chair of Easthampton Media. I just want to be available to answer any questions you have, and I also want to say that the 2% increase will be very beneficial to this community. We're looking for many advancements and enhancements throughout the station. We're hoping to expand. We're looking at things like a new facility. We want to offer tons more services, and what we offer is going to grow, and get better. Right now, I know there's been an issue with sound here in this community, and we brought that up recently at our meeting. We're having our people look at it, and we want that gone. I consider it unacceptable that it exists there, and I want to give you a reassurance that it is our foremost priority to make any issues that we have disappear. That's got to go. And additional services, putting more of your meetings on the show, having more access, getting more of your community members to be participant, that's all something we really want. The more the merrier. It improves the station. It improves everything we do.
Hey, Paul,
Sorry. Okay, yeah.
When you turn around, they can't hear you at home.
Yeah, I'm trying to address everyone. Forgive me.
That's okay.
Do you have any questions for me?
No, I think we're all on the same page that, we're looking for more, and it will be beneficial to the town, so.
Can I ask, it's not for you, James, I don't want to keep you up there, but a general question for Ms. Cohen or maybe Heather. We're at 1% now, and it goes to the bottom line of all the subscribers' bills. So if we want 2%, if we want 3%, it's just a matter of us approving that, and then you take it and pass it through to the subscribers? So it's not more complicated than that? Okay, thanks.
Yes, thank you.
That's basically part of the license renewal negotiation.
Okay.
Since we're just completing a 5-year license, most of that language is probably still, 95% of it is legal boilerplate.
Okay.
The key thing that I negotiate with most towns is how much money that they want or need for a capital grant and an ongoing operational support for community access.
So there's no issue from your side of the house on percentage increasing, it's whether we want to...
Well, we don't want to lose customers because of a particular tax or fee on the bill.
And we don't want to overtax people,
Because we know
but...
that our competitors, the satellite providers, they don't offer PEG access.
Right.
And another thing that came up is, that there's a plus and a minus to streaming your programming on the internet. We have customers in Southampton who are internet customers who are not video customers. They are not providing financial support for community access. So you're almost hurting yourself sometimes by putting this stuff on the internet, because if somebody doesn't have to be a cable customer
to see it,
they're not providing financial support to make this work. So all of the satellite customers have access to through the internet, yet they provide no financial support.
But didn't you say the penetration in Southampton was very high?
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
It's over 70%.
Right.
John, would you like to hear the draft of the contract?
Depending on how long it is.
About a sentence and a half.
Yes, I'd love to.
This is the draft. Town accordingly is seeking a phased-in increase supporting of the PEG access going to 2.5% of the gross revenues for the first 1 to 3 years of a renewal license and going to 4% thereafter. So basically, it's phased in over, we'll say, 5 years.
Okay, so that's the same wording as we had before. So, but with the information that you've talked about on the average bill, I mean, we said $20 a bill is going to be 20 cents. $200 bill is $2, is that right? Yeah. What's the average bill? I mean, I know I pay over $100 because I have everything bundled, but...
What's the average video bill?
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's probably over $100 these days.
Just for the video. So 2.5% of $100 is $2.50 a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
1 second. If you'd like to make a comment, I just need you to get to the podium, but there's a line formed at the back.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just had a few quick questions. I'll address the select board and then we can go back and forth. How many video subscribers are there in Southampton? I know you mentioned 70%, but do you have a figure?
Tom, do you know that answer?
I do. Just under 1,900.
Thank you.
Okay. My next question, and this is a select board cable provider question. Do you have the ability to add more contract stipulations in the negotiation? Do you know if that's part of the board's purview and ability?
I hope so.
That's why they call it a negotiation.
I just think about the residents who are not afforded direct access to cable. Coming from the utility industry, we are required to provide it at the street for customers.
Right.
And, a lot of towns, Verizon in particular, they do provide services at the street. So it would be nice to have the ability to give the same to the other customers. And my last question, and this is, I guess, a little open-ended, you pass the percentage on to the customers. Do you have to pass the percentage on? Is there an agreeable, if it's 2%, we only pass 1.5% on to the customer, and Charter essentially absorbs that other 0.5%? Does Charter have that ability? Or is it a regulated direct cost to the customer?
I'm going to guess whatever they absorb comes out the other end as a charge. Is that right?
That is correct. Federal law allows us to pass this through, and we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we just call it something different on the bill.
And we are set up very differently than at utility.
Yep.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Are you crunching numbers yet on that 4%? That's 84 grand a year.
Yeah, in 5 years.
We're going from 21 to 84?
In 5 years.
Yeah, it's 2.5.
Per year?
No.
Afterwards, yeah.
Is phasing in.
It's phased in over the course of the 3 to 4 years.
Still going to be $4,000 a year.
Eventually, it will be that.
Okay. That's a lot of money.
Well, I understand that, but the other side of the argument is the residents are looking for the service. The only way to get the service is to provide it, and the only way to provide it is to pay for it.
And I think one of the keys is that he said that was a draft, so, yeah.
Mr. Floyd.
I'm back. Robert Floyd, 15 East Street. There's one unanswered question, and that was to picture quality. And the picture quality now is soft. It is not HD. And with the concept, with the new cameras, the quality will match the other channels and will be HD. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other questions or concerns, going once, going twice. We will end the conversation for today, but we will not close the hearing. So if there are folks at home or in the room still that have questions, concerns, in support of or not in support of, you can pass those on to Heather in the town administrator's office, and then we will go forward from there.
And just a thought, as far as all the information I've gotten in emails and all that, I haven't heard a negative against ECAD, so it's all been very positive.
I think it would be helpful for people at town meeting to know the backstory. I think Mike's the one that brought that up, was what happened in the finance committee meetings that got us to this point, what happened at the school committee meetings that got us here, rather than having to hash that out at town meeting or in an informational meeting. People can get the information on their own beforehand. So that being said, we're going to move, I'm going to skip around because I know some of you are looking at this agenda. And I'm going to move to the Cook and County Road because I don't see the police department in the room at the moment. So we're going to move to the Cook and County Road Gwinner project. So if those involved would like to, Mr. Fish.
I just need to stop the recording on.
Thank you.
On this.
How long do you need?
5 minutes.
We will adjourn at 7:07. Re-adjourn. We'll come back in 5 minutes.